All right, on this episode of Bouts Talking Bouts, happy to be talking to an individual who's got quite the fight going. Unified MMA 40, one of the bigger promotions in Canada, coming back into the fold, and we've got a Unified MMA Light Heavyweight Championship bout going down. It is on August the 14th. UFC Fight Pass, people can check that out. If you're in the Edmonton area, you can also see it live. We have Graham Park and Neil Barry vying for the gold in the 205-pound division, and I have Neil on the show once again. How's your day going so far there, Neil?
Pretty good so far. Just relaxing for the afternoon. Head back tonight for some teaching and training back at the gym.
Yeah, and I love just the detail with the teaching and stuff like that, just like with the students in the gym, but also in past I've seen certain, safety-minded things with some of the, bouncers at the local bars, helping them out with some of the techniques there and stuff like that there. But I'm kind of curious, like, just with the teaching end of things, like how much does, I guess, teaching certain techniques to other individuals give you like an even more refined sense of the technique in your own endeavors as a fighter?
It's huge, actually. I think teaching is a super important thing that a lot of fighters and martial artists should be doing, because it really reinforces and gives you a deeper understanding of your own technique, because now you got to figure out how to pass it on to different people with different attributes and everything, and you really do gain a lot deeper understanding of the techniques and what you're trying to do as a fighter and martial artist and whatnot. So I think everybody should be teaching, once they put some time in, and that once they've got a few years in at least, then everybody should be getting into a little bit of teaching. That's my opinion anyways.
Yeah, no, that's a fair opinion. I only asked that because in my own role in like a broadcasting kind of capacity, like when I've, taught certain people things, it's given me an even more comprehensive understanding of it. So cool that extends to the fighting end of things too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's good stuff for sure. And just, steadily getting in that work at CMC, just like a real tight family out there. But the last time we talked, it was a bit of a different landscape with the world and everything like that. And from what I can see with Lee and stuff like that, some of the training dynamics can be a little start and stop with CMC, just with like the broader state of the world. Like, how have things been going on with the training for this one, with the backdrop of just all that?
The training is, it's getting back to normal now that the gyms are open up full time. There was a while there where, there wasn't a lot going on, so I was doing my own workouts at home and meeting up with people and stuff like that. But, the last year and a half has been super choppy and, very intermittent with everything going on. But now that the gyms are open, our team is back together. The community is strong at CMC again, and the energy at the gym is awesome again, kind of pre-pandemic. So, it feels a little more, normal again, being back at the gym and everybody there and whatnot. So training's good and solid again. Our classes are back to normal, and, it feels like nothing happened almost. But, no, it's been good. It's been good recently.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear things are at least getting, somewhat returning to normal there, and just working with top level guys as always. I mean, I saw you were referencing Jordan Meehan a bit ago there, and also Majed Homo, who also specifically has a fight coming up on the Unified card. And, I'm just kind of wondering like how that feels, just with like having a teammate kind of on the card as well, as much as it's an individual sport. It's like you got a couple compatriots from CMC kind of bolstering the card there. Like, how does that, I guess, inform your performance, if at all?
I love it. We have other people too fighting on the same card and even the next day. So, having extra guys around that have the same, deadline that I do, and with Majed having a title fight too, Majed just got the title fight, so he's just, ramping things up again. But having him around and the energy he brings, and, and I get very different, training with him than I do with other people, which is awesome to have that variety. And now I get to also, help him, which will help me with training, right? Because now I got to stay consistent, not just to help him, but, it's going to help me. And it's going to be great. It's always great having, buddies, but also teammates to, on the same show. We get to go together, get to cut weight together, eat together, train together. It's good to have that community, even though we fight by ourselves. Having that support behind you is huge.
Yeah, and I just smiled when you were talking before about how some of the guys are fighting on a card the next day, just in the sense of, we're having, back-to-back cards in Alberta and just Canadian MMA in a broader sense, feels like a breath of fresh air there.
Yeah, it's crazy. I think everybody's trying to get as many cards in right now as they can while they can. It's ramping up, and there's going to be a lot of fight cards, I think, over the rest of this year, which is pretty cool to see.
Yeah, definitely much needed, just with everything having grinded to a halt at one point. But I wanted to touch on the last fight there, because we didn't get a chance to kind of talk about that after you captured the Rumble in the Cage light heavyweight title, and it seemed like a pretty comprehensive performance in a lot of regards. In true form, you're keeping the 100% finishing rate, not getting out of the first round as you generally do. So, what were your thoughts on just the performance overall, but also getting the, I guess, belt wrapped around your waist too? I imagine it was, a lot of boxes getting checked off there in a pretty euphoric moment.
Yeah, that was a pretty special night for me. Rumble in the Cage has been kind of my home fight card, since I was 20 years old. So to capture the light heavyweight belt there was, it was pretty special. I was very happy about that. And then performance-wise, I felt like, just the stars aligned and everything went perfect for that fight. I took zero damage. I was able to, finish the fight how I thought the fight would finish, how I could finish it, and everything like that. So, it was a perfect night. I felt good in the fight. I had a good fight camp going into it. Winning the Rumble belt, was huge for me. And now going forward, I want to get this unified belt. So I have, my hometown one, and I want one that's out of town. It's going to be a tough fight, and I'm looking forward to the challenge.
And I was just curious to get your insights on something briefly before we kind of talk about the dynamics of the next fight there, just because you'd had the prior lengthy hiatus in your career that was more mindful of just different life choices, you wanted to, try different things out. So I guess my question is, was there at any point a level of frustration just with the pandemic kind of setting in, and maybe you can't get that, strength of schedule that you would like? Obviously factors far beyond your control, but did frustration set in at any point, or kind of just, it is what it is, adapt when and how I can?
Well, this last year and a half has been incredibly tough on me. As far as being a fighter goes, I was supposed to fight Graham March 14th of 2020, and they got canceled on 2 days' notice. So that was frustrating. And then having, however many months we went by without a glimmer of hope of even having a fight card, and then the gym closing down. So then, I wasn't able to work for however many months. It was an extremely stressful, year and a half now, or however long it's been. And my mental health definitely suffered over this last year, and everyone that's close to me could definitely see it. I know they could. I've talked about it with a few people. It was a very dark, frustrating year for me. And now that we're coming out of it, I've been trying to, get my mindset back to, a healthy mentality. And that's been a battle too, but I think I'm making really good progress on that. And getting this fight confirmed and everything was huge on helping me, get my mindset back to where I needed to be to be a positive person, and to be a good influence at the gym, and to, be a good instructor again, and everything like that. But yeah, no, this last year was definitely a tough challenge, and it definitely did take its toll on me. And I'm glad we're kind of getting, hopefully, to the end of it, and can keep moving forward, and I can get, a few more fights in under my belt while I can compete with these top guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely, some tough times, but the fact that training coming back, I imagine, is, a great regulator in a lot of regards there for sure. But what other, I guess, aspects are you adding in to give that quality of life back? It seems like on the Instagram you're out there and embracing nature a fair bit and stuff like that. It seems like you're out there with couple cute dogs generally and stuff like that. So is that kind of part of it too, or were you mostly just talking about the, I guess, like resumed kind of camaraderie of training and all?
Well, no, I mean, I always spend time with my dogs, so that part never really changed. But I am taking on, I feel like I'm, these last few years, last 4 or 5 years, I've been changing a lot as a person. I've gotten into hunting. I've gotten into more outdoor stuff. I'm trying to get, a little more away from society. I'm trying to, grow still as a person. Not just as a fighter, but my outside interests. And so not everything revolves around gym life. So yeah, my dogs are a huge part of that. I take a lot of pride in them. And now taking on some new ventures and learning some new skill sets later on in life. And that stuff's been, helping out a lot with, just trying to move forward and be the best human that I can be.
Yeah, that's all.
Your question.
Yeah, no, I mean, it definitely does for sure. Just like having the, I guess, different avenues in your life, I imagine it creates like a continually like renewed interest in the martial arts, because I can see maybe if you're like just myopically focusing on that, maybe there's some level of burnout that can settle in at certain times. And I can kind of resonate with the dynamics you're talking about, just like the rapid changes in recent years and trying to get out in nature more and kind of be on these individual sort of like out of society, almost like outside of the grid kind of thing, that sort of deal. So I get what you're laying down for sure. Definitely a cathartic, beneficial sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
And this fight, an interesting one too, just in the sense of another permutation of the CMC versus shaved bears kind of dynamics. And one of the things I love about it, just beyond the fact that it's like high level fights coming out and they're always very exciting, like just the pronounced level of respect and camaraderie among both of the teams. Can you kind of talk about that dynamic there a little bit?
Well, I've always had respect for everybody that I fight, and there's no reason to not respect the Shaved Bears team and their club. I mean, they've been producing incredible fighters lately. That's that's not up for debate. They have a super strong team, great fighters, and they're always respectful. Like when I fought Teddy, he was super respectful. Everybody on their team was respectful. Every time we've crossed paths, there's never been any issues. And it's hard not to respect a team like that. And yeah, I mean, they're an awesome team, and I got nothing but respect for them. And with this fight coming up, it's business. It's nothing personal, and we're both going in there to be the best that we can be. And I'm getting older, and I've got a few fights left, so I wanted to put my name out for these challenges while I can. And I've only got a few fights left, I think, so I'm going to make the most of them.
You referenced Teddy Ash in there, though, and just with this being your, follow-up bid for the Unified MMA title, like, is there any kind of redemptive component with this upcoming title bid, or is it more of like a clean slate, like, totally new thing? There's not the backdrop of that previous title bid in your mind?
No, there's nothing resonating from that fight with Teddy. That was... I took it on short notice when nobody else would, and I'm proud of what I did. And only having one fight back after 9 years, I'm happy with that performance. And Teddy is an awesome fighter, and he knocked my head off, and it was awesome. And yeah, there's nothing resonating from that. There's no sense of trying to get payback or anything like that. There's none of that. There's no negative emotions like that coming into this fight.
I guess I just more meant with like the specific hardware in terms of it compounding the motivation, but it's good that you're kind of approaching it the way you are, I think. But yeah, kind of talking about the, I guess, CMC Shaved Bears thing that I was mentioning before. Like I was talking to Graham Park, and I'm like, oh yeah, like you getting any insights from Teddy just with the prior backdrop of, your guys' fight and stuff like that? And then he's like, oh, well, I fought Sheldon, so we're pretty much on the equal playing field in that regard. But can you talk about the dynamics of that, just the level of, I guess, familiarity that exists among the camps, but also the confluence with it of you guys just like developing these new skills. Like there's, I guess, a certain level of understanding what you're getting into, but then also like, oh damn, he's really sharpened up the tools and integrating some new facets to the game.
Yeah, well, I mean, I did corner against Graham too, so I had a front row seat to watching him fight Sheldon. So there is a lot of insight there. But then, like you said, he had the exact same thing with me. I don't think he was in the corner for Teddy, but he would have watched that fight, I'm sure. And, I've talked to Sheldon, and I'm sure he's talking with Teddy, and, we do have insight on each other. We've seen each other fight, and I think most of my fights, especially my younger ones, were before, every fight was on YouTube. So I might have a little bit more to hide than him. But, it's been a couple of years since, we've both fought, or however long it's been. And I'm sure he's been working on stuff in preparation, not just for me, but just to be a better fighter. And that's the same with me. My weaknesses I've been working on, and, trying to strengthen my strengths and everything. And, I'm sure we've both grown a ton since, even just since we were supposed to fight last time. So it's going to make for an interesting matchup,
Yeah, and when I was talking to him, he was talking about his, awareness of your high-level jiu-jitsu, but also was saying how you were showing a lot of just new wrinkles in your skill set overall in the last few fights there. Like, in terms of, like, what he brings to the table as a fighter, like, what are your thoughts on, Graham Park overall?
My thoughts on Graham Park, when he fought Sheldon, I think he showed a really incredible level of heart in that fight. Like, he was in trouble with Sheldon. He was getting hurt, but he never quit. And I think, that's going to be a huge, huge factor going into this next fight, because he's not going to quit. He's tough and he's in good shape. And, skill sets aside, that makes up a huge part of the fight game. And, and he definitely has that mentality of not quitting. And I don't even know what else to say. Like, he's a good fighter, and he's got a ton of skills, and he's strong and tough, and it's going to make for a really tough challenge, really tough fight.
Yeah, great fight on paper for sure. But the last time we spoke, you were saying leading up to this fight, my anxiety isn't nearly the same. I'm kind of wondering what the general, I guess, headspace leading into this one is. Like, does it feel like there's a bit of a hiatus and kind of coming back to something, or by virtue of having, I guess, Graham Park on the proverbial radar for a decent period of time, maybe there's that similar dynamic of the anxiety not being the same as some prior bouts?
This has been an interesting one. The first week or so, it didn't really seem real, right? There was, there's still even now, there's still the chance that, it could get canceled for some crazy reason. It could happen. So that's still in my head. But it did take me like at least a week before it finally settled in that this fight's actually happening. And then, training going. And now it's nice and it's concrete in my head. Like, no, this is happening. This fight's on. We're training hard. It's going. Like, this 100%. It's happening. So that really helped. Just get my head into the training camp and preparing. And the anxiety hasn't honestly hit yet. That's something that I've been trying to work on. On a personal note, right? Trying to work on my anxiety and kind of figure out that mental aspect of things. And I haven't found that the anxiety's hit yet. And it could, getting closer to the fight. I always have the nerves are going to hit at some point. The anxiety is going to hit. I've always pushed through it. But it's gonna be interesting to see with with this camp and getting closer to it, whether it becomes a factor or not, or how hard it does actually come into effect. But so far so good. I've got my head into the fight. My mindset is, I think it's in a good place right now. I've worked really hard at trying to correct some issues that have come up in the last year. I'm happy with the progress I've made, and I'm happy with where I'm at right now going forward towards this fight.
Yeah, I'm curious, like, what you've added in that regard. Is there like some sports psychology you're taking in, or just general, I guess, performance minded, high performance kind of psychology, or like, what are you doing to, I guess, bolster that end of the game?
Um, well, there's been some talking with some people and some reading, and just working on things personally. Um, I I like to do a lot of things on my own, which may not always be the best approach, but right now it's working for me. I do read a lot. I do listen to a lot of different, psychiatrists and psychologists and whatever you want to call these people. But it is a lot of that. It's a lot of listening to people that I really respect, that have a good mindset that I want to try to copy or whatever, or imitate. And a lot of it is just me recognizing my faults and trying to correct them the best that I can. And one of the best things that I've done lately actually is changing up my social media, which Facebook in general, it just turned into such a swamp of negativity for me. And I think I've done a good job at correcting that recently, and that was a huge factor for me, was just cleaning that world up, and that leached into everything else. And I think I've made good progress on fixing the headspace.
I definitely feel that on the end of staying away from some of the social media cesspools, I would call them. Definitely not good on the mental health sometimes, for sure. So definitely resonating with me there. But with this fight coming up here, I'm curious, like, your thoughts on it being on UFC Fight Pass. Like, I've talked to some fighters who've been on these kind of cards, and they seem to think it's like really cool. They're part of a broadcast platform like that. Some fighters, like, that facet of the fight doesn't really inform what they're doing in any kind of way at all. Like, where do you stand on the whole performing on UFC Fight Pass kind of dynamic?
It hasn't even registered, honestly. I've been on pay-per-view. I've been streamed. I've been in large crowds. That doesn't really ever factor into my headspace. I've always gone out to the only person I really ever worry about as a critic is myself. I fight for myself, and to prove to myself what I can do. And UFC Fight Pass, large crowds, that stuff's never really come into effect in my head, and it's never really done anything negative for me or anything like that. So that's not really something I think about.
Yeah, fair enough, man. I mean, like you said, you've been on pay-per-views and a lot of other platforms anyway. But I am curious about like what tune you're maybe thinking of coming out to for this fight. Like, I saw you had a tweet years ago where you were talking about how your life definitely needs more 9-inch nails playing in the background. Like, what tune you think you're coming out to, or is it another kind of thing we were talking about before, maybe something you haven't even thought of as of yet?
No, it's going to be the same song I always come out to. Battle Without Honor or Humanity. It's off the Kill Bill soundtrack. That's been my jam for my last, I don't even know how many fights. Pretty much since Kill Bill came out, that's been my song. So that'll be the one I come out to.
What is it about that tune specifically? Like, what does it elicit from you whereby you're, using it in every fight? I imagine it gets you pretty fired up in a particular way.
It does, and because I've used it in so many fights now, every time it comes on, I get a sense of just energy from the song. It's it's not like something that gets me anxious or anything like that. It gets me just comfortable, and it gets me kind of energetic, and it's got a cool tune to it, and yeah, it's my song. It's my fight song.
Well, that's all.
Until I'm retired again.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you gotta be picking the tunes that get you fired up, and yeah, the familiarity kind of dynamic I think would be a good thing there for sure. But you've been great with your time, Neil, and it seems like you're just in an awesome place in general. So I appreciate you making some time to talk and offer some insights today. But just in being mindful of your time and presumably busy schedule leading into the fight and all, is there maybe anything you want to add, sort of as a parting thought as we're kind of wrapping up?
No, I think, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm happy to be, have a fight confirmed again, and just, looking forward to it. And thank you for your time, and thanks for your questions. And yeah, we'll talk to you again another time, I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely interested in doing that, and I think people are going to be very interested in this fight. If people are in the Edmonton area, they can peep Unified MMA 40. Got to grab some tickets for that. But if people want to use the broadcast opportunity on August 14th, UFC Fight Pass is how you're going to be checking out Graham Park versus Neil Barry, the light heavyweight belt on the line. And yeah, to reiterate, appreciate you coming on the show once again, Neil. And just, yeah, best of luck in the remainder of the preparations, and looking forward to checking out the fight there.
Thank you.
All right, on this episode of Bouts Talking Bouts, we've got a big card going down in August the 14th, specifically, and we have the Unified MMA Light Heavyweight Championship up for grabs. Canadian Regional MMA getting back at it. Unified MMA 40 had a couple events already, specifically the return of Unified MMA after a bit of a pandemic-related hiatus, and what a fight coming up between Neil Barry and defending light heavyweight champion Graham Park. And I'm welcoming Graham on the program for the very first time. How's your day going so far there, man?
Pretty good. Started off good. Got a workout in this morning, so just going to continue on with my day. But, yeah, beautiful day out here in Edmonton.
Yeah, I love hearing that. So I'm kind of wondering, like, who you're, getting in that work with in terms of, like, the specific team there, because I know in past you've gotten in work over at, like, Shaved Bears and stuff like that. Are you putting in work with the usual suspects in that regard there?
Yeah, the guys at Little Sweatshop here, Shaved Bears, we got a bunch of guys always coming and going and training when they can get in the gym. So, yeah, the usual suspects like KB Buller when he's coming through, Tanner when he's not in quarantine from his fights.
Yeah.
Yeah, these guys coming and going on all the times, firing all cylinders. So, yeah, we get time in when we can. Yes, Sterling Machete, my coach Jeff, Montemiro, Mike Newton, all sorts of guys that are always coming and going. So,
yeah, stellar group of guys there for sure. And it seems like there's a great camaraderie among you guys, even beyond just getting in work with the high-level martial artists. So can you kind of talk about that dynamic, just that confluence of, sharpening the tools and getting in that top-notch work, but also having like that, friendship, supportive kind of component to it as well?
Yeah, it is. I do feel like this what we have here is unique. I've trained at a few different gyms in the time I've been in the sport, and this is real team atmosphere here. They're correct. If people don't gel, they find out pretty quickly that they're not gonna their time here is not gonna pan out, kind of thing. So we surround yourself with good people, surround yourself with great people, and you can do great things. So they say, like, surround yourself with 9 millionaires, you'll be the 10th. We kind of try and do the same thing here. Good people, good fighters, guys willing to put in the work, and we all just bring each other up.
Yeah, and you've been in the Edmonton scene for a while, as you were kind of talking about there, just in the sense of, like, I'd seen those training pics in, like, the mid-2010s of you with guys like, Andrew McInnes and Sheldon Westcott, Cody Cron, all of those different guys there. So, yeah, a lot of top-notch fighters out there.
A lot of established guys, and I still keep in contact with a lot of those dudes, too. So, yeah, I've built a great group of friends in this MMA community here. It's one of the best things I've ever had happen in my life, for sure, is getting involved in MMA.
Yeah, I love hearing that there, man. And I'm kind of wondering, just with the last fight there, just in the sense of getting your thoughts on what I thought was a pretty comprehensive performance all around, getting that first round stoppage of a guy like Sheldon Dahl, who is, well regarded by a lot of people for sure. So what was it like getting out there, and just what were the general, I guess, thoughts on how the story of that fight unfurled overall?
Yeah, I think it was one of the great matchup. I think stylistically him and I match up pretty well. It was a good fight. I thought people were excited to see it. I was definitely put to the test more than I've ever been in any other fight. So, definitely tested my mettle and seeing what I really am capable of doing and what I want to do. So, that was a good fight, and hats off to him, and hopefully he keeps at it too. I haven't seen him get any fights signed since then, but I hope he keeps at it, because the guy's got a bright future for sure.
Yeah, and I just love the dynamics. Just it seemed like there was a tangible sense of respect heading into the fight. Also, after the fact, and that seems to resonate through just like the broader, I guess, respect among the gyms. Like it seems like there's been a few CMC versus Shaved Bears kind of matchups, and it's always just like so much respect heading into it, and always just exciting high octane matchups. So I thought that was cool. Like, what are your thoughts on just that dynamic and being part of another permutation of that kind of like competitive, just iron sharpens iron, like not quite a gym rivalry, but like you're both looking to level up, and there's that respect all throughout.
That's exactly it. It's not, I wouldn't call it a rivalry. I actually was in the same corner as Lee, not that long ago. And
yeah, I was kind of just at a lack for words there a little bit, but
and the guys that veteran in the sport, easy to talk to. We even discussed fighting Neil at that point, and there was no like bad blood. Like those guys, I think, are just similar to us in that they're martial artists. They want to just get out and fight and push themselves, and it's not like a tension between the two gyms. Like we're both just pushing each other to get better, and those guys are awesome. Like you can guarantee they're going to show up to fight. Like there's maybe other gyms in the country that they may or may not show, or they get this, and like you guarantee those CMAC guys are showing up and they're ready to fight every single time, which is awesome. You can rely on them to show up and pull the best performance out of you, out of myself, right? So yeah, those guys are awesome. Love them.
Yeah, definitely. And like I was kind of at a lack of a specific word at the time. Like rivalry implies a bit of bad blood, but yeah, definitely great camaraderie and respect among the gyms. But you talk about some of the gyms just in a broader sense throughout the country, and it seemed like you were getting in some good work at Toshido MMA circa October of last year. What was that whole experience at Toshido like? That's such a legendary gym.
Awesome. Yeah, Steve McDonald was getting prepared to make his Bellator debut, and him and his team asked me to come out and get some work in with them. And so I got to spend a week out there learning from Dave and working with Steve and their guys, and like Tyler Van Kill. I think he just made his pro debut out in Vancouver recently too. Like the dude's like little jiu-jitsu wizard, so he was fun to get some rounds in with too. And like the guys out there are great. And I can't remember his other name there. Matt Dwyer, sorry. Getting rounds in with guys and just meeting. You see these names like regionally, and you're like, oh, they're fighting there, and you like, we all kind of keep track of what's going on in the Canadian MMA scene. So you finally get to like get in some training, have some conversations, meet up with guys. It was a great experience. Yeah, I've never even been to Kelowna before that too. So Kelowna was beautiful. Their gym is awesome. All the coaches, everyone there was great. And it was good to test myself against being there and getting rounds in with another guy I'm not familiar with, who's a higher level light heavyweight. I thought that was great, and I think we both came away a little bit better from that training experience for sure. Steve, I can't wait to see him get his Bellator debut. I think that's coming up quick. I haven't seen anything official announced, but I think that's coming up soon. So yeah, it'll be awesome to see him fight too. Guy's a banger.
Yeah, I got fired up when I saw that picture. Steve's a good lad for sure there, but I'm kind of curious about just, backtracking a little bit to the last fight there, just in the sense of, capturing that light heavyweight championship. Like, I imagine that was a tremendous individual accomplishment for you, but is there like a compounded, just like cherry on top sense of enjoying the fact that there's that continued, Shaved Bears lineage with the title there, just with Teddy Ash formerly holding the gold as well?
Yeah, it was cool that I don't think Teddy wanted. He just had different goals from there, so he decided to relinquish that light heavyweight title, and it was pretty awesome to have him being the light heavyweight middleweight champ, which is nutty, and then there's guys from our gym just filling in that spot right in behind him. So me and KB, and then Chris taking over that heavyweight belt for that Tanner relinquished when he got signed. So I thought it was cool, like one of those. There's a picture floating around somewhere of all of us just laying on the mat there after our fights and with the belts and stuff, and like that's pretty cool picture, pretty cool moment for all of us.
Oh, absolutely. And just, the night you're referring to is an amazing one for yourself and also the team by proxy, just like the clean sweep and the title fights and just the clean sweep overall. So, I mean, I imagine there's a mounting sense of individual enthusiasm seeing, your teammates get these victories, and you're probably just you're already optimally prepared, galvanized to get out there, but just the euphoria of seeing your teammates emerge victorious too.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah. That was a good night. I don't know if we did a completely clean sweep, but I think we had a couple of the guys early on in the night that didn't get the results they were looking for. But, I mean, I think when it comes down to it, all our guys are going out there and putting in max effort, putting in an amazing performance, whether they win or lose. As a team, we're proud of them no matter what. And they know that coming back, that they're not letting anybody down and nobody's like talking shit behind their back or whatever. Pardon my French, but
it's all good.
Yeah, we support each other in the highest of highs and lowest of lows. Like, joy shared is joy multiplied, pain shared is pain divided. So we all help each other through the hard losses, and we all celebrate together in the big wins.
Yeah, great way to put it. But just like the individual journey in the promotion too, kind of cool, because I'd seen you actually debuted with Unified MMA on their 6th event there and didn't necessarily get the favorable outcome there. But, what a legacy. I mean, building yourself up now to the point where you're the reigning 205-pound champion there. So, like, what are your thoughts on the specific, just, I guess, growth patterns within Unified MMA? Because I imagine it's, like, pretty obvious and pronounced to you.
Yeah, I think I may have even, like, gone to, like, Unified 2 or something. Like, I've been to shows pretty much since the beginning, and I'm like, man, I hadn't even trained at that point. I was like, this is awesome. Like, I want to do this, and I want to be the middleweight champ, because I think like Anderson Silva or somebody was like the man back then. I'm like, I'm going to be the middleweight champ of this. And didn't make middleweight, moved up a bit, but to come from like those original shows, and speaking of that first fight too, it didn't have a favorable outcome. Still an awesome fight. I lost that to Mark Drummond, who I think we put on a wicked fight back and forth for my pro debut, and his second pro fight. I had no shame in that fight at all. Like, it was a great fight, fun fight. He pulled it off in the end. So that was a cool learning experience for me. To come up and Sonny's built so much with that Unified, like in that banquet hall where, if you jumped in the cage, you might have hit your head off the chandelier kind of thing.
Yeah.
And the crowd was maybe it was definitely interesting at times, to like the high quality event he's got on now, where it's like a respectable event. The venue he's got is top notch. The production value is like so much better than when it started. It's really becoming world class, and that's shown when he's gotten signed by the UFC Fight Pass thing. So like even the highest organization recognizes that this guy's put in the work, and it's awesome to have been part of that. And the Mirage, and then it was like the Capilano Conference Center we fought in a few times, coming down those stairs and such. And it's been awesome, like being part of the organization, being to a lot of fights, seeing guys come and go, and the different champions come through that have gone to the bigger shows, like Shane Campbell and Tanner and KB and Teddy and stuff. So and Tristan Connolly, don't forget him too. He was champ at one point. And
absolutely
got signed in big show. So it's been awesome.
But you mentioned the broadcast platform there, just with this one being the first show on UFC Fight Pass. Like, does that have any level of importance to you? Is it kind of just gonna get more visibility? That's a good kind of thing. Like, where are you at in terms of like just your thoughts on being on that particular broadcast platform for this one?
I think it's cool. It's like, so I'm a fan as much as I am an athlete. So I think it's cool to be on that big stage and have that kind of record of it. Because there's some fights I still have no video. There might be a few pictures, but to know that there's like that permanent record of those fights is pretty cool. And just the broadcast platform, like I have friends and family all over the world who'd love to watch me fight, and it's not always easy for them to do. So being on Fight Pass, guys from all over the world are going to be able to tune in when I'm fighting, and that means a lot to me, that people take their time just to even tune in, let alone just show up for the shows and support the local athletes. Like, it means a lot for everyone to show up and take their time just to show their support and tune into something all these athletes are super passionate about, including myself.
Absolutely. And in a previous interview you'd done, you were talking about how you're of the opinion that you're not a true champion until you at least defend it. So I imagine that's, compounding the excitement getting out there for this one, and also just this specific title defense being on your radar for a decent period of time, like over a year now. So can you talk about the emotions associated with that? I imagine you're chomping at the bit. It's been a long time coming.
Yeah, no, it was very frustrating when the pandemic thing started, and people a couple of days out were like, "Man, you think your fight's still gonna be going?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's gonna be good. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it." And I'm like, "No, it'll be fine." And then it was the like the day before weigh-ins, like 5 o'clock at night, you get the call, "Yeah, the fight's canceled." I was like, "Oh, so frustrating." So, and then nobody knew what direction everything was headed. So Sonny tried to keep everyone's head in the game. Like, "Hey, we're going to try in a few months. Like, we'll see how this goes." He was like definitely trying to be prepared, to be ready at a moment's notice to throw on another event, and just kept getting pushed further to the right. And at times it was difficult to stay motivated to just even, gyms are closed and you got to keep some level of training going. So at times it was difficult for that, but that just tests your mental fortitude, and done a lot of other tougher things in my life. So just keeping my head in the game wasn't that difficult, but at times it was a test for sure.
Yeah, it seems like you've kept your focus and adapted smoothly, but I want to talk about the specific matchup here, because like what you were saying, it's been on the radar for a little bit. Like there's been discussions for a decent period of time about competing with Neil, even beyond the aforementioned cancellation. Like it seems like it's a fight that's been out there for a little bit, and just him being another champion of Rumble in the Cage and everything like that. Like what are your thoughts on his skill set and just what he brings to the table as a fighter?
Well, I know he's got his black belt in jiu-jitsu. He's down there as one of the main jiu-jitsu guys down at CMAC, so that's definitely something I'm keeping my eye focused on, as a big part of it. And he showed a lot of different skill sets in the last few fights that I've seen of him. So he brings a well-rounded game, and I don't think there's anything. He's at 18 fights, I believe, and he's been fighting a long time. He's been doing jiu-jitsu a long time. He's fought a lot of tough dudes. I don't think there's going to be a lot I'm going to throw at him that he's never seen before. Like I said, he's got a lot of experience, but I plan on throwing things at him that he just can't handle. So.
Yeah, and just your teammate Teddy Ash having the previous experience fighting him. I'm curious if you've gotten any insights from Teddy about this particular matchup, or perhaps not so much.
Yeah, a little bit, but I mean, he's in the same exact boat as I am. Like, Sheldon fought me, so Sheldon's giving him all the same. Like, well, he felt strong here, and he let this go, and I don't think he saw this, and when I hit him here, he didn't like that, so he's open for this. I'm sure Sheldon's doing the exact same thing, so I don't think either one of us have like a crazy advantage of the other. That somebody fought somebody. Teddy fought him, so Teddy's helping me out. And I fought Sheldon. Sheldon's for sure guaranteed helping him out. So there's not going to be any surprises for either one of us. But I just have to go and do what I do best, and I believe that'll be enough to get my hand raised.
Yeah, and that's kind of the cool thing, like I was talking about before, about the CMC and Shaved Bears, like, kinetic chess game almost. Like, it's like you guys know certain things about each other, but you're also adding new tools, so it's like, do I really know everything? So kind of a curious dynamic.
Absolutely.
But I also wanted to touch on the fact that you were able to fight on that last MFC card there, just because it was such a, big fixture in the Canadian MMA space for a bit. Obviously, you wouldn't have known at the time per se that it was going to be the last show, but just benefit of hindsight, what was it like getting to have that performance and everything?
Yeah, fuck, that was a while ago. Hey,
yeah.
That was good to be able to catch one of the last MFC shows, because like you said, huge fixture in Canadian MMA. A lot of high level guys come out of MFC. Mark Pavlich put on like a big show. That was the big venue. The big MFC walkout inflatable thing. Fighting in a ring was really cool. Like, man, you don't see that almost anywhere anymore, fighting in a ring. So I'm glad I got to say, I got to fight in a big ring, and where a lot of great fighters came out of MFC, and I got a good performance out of that one. I got a win. So yeah, that was really cool, and I'm fortunate that they haven't put on any show since, or have no plans to do anything else. But Sonny has definitely filled in the gap for sure since then.
Yeah, and it's cool that like Mark and Sonny have that kind of like dynamic where, you know, Sonny kind of picks Mark's brain a little bit, and just kind of the lineage of Edmonton MMA continuing onward there.
Yeah, definitely cool. Yeah, Mark Pavlich has got a brain for business, that's no doubt. So Sonny picking his brain is a good formula.
Yeah, it's really cool to see, even from, you know, my perspective too there. But I'd be remiss if I didn't ask this, because when I Googled Graham Park, I got a couple locations from actual parks, like one in Toronto and I think the other was in Pennsylvania. Have you ever actually been to a Graham Park before, or just hasn't been that confluence of, you know, Graham Park inside Graham Park quite yet?
No, all parks are actually named after me.
Yeah, there you go. That's it.
No, I've never actually been to any Graham Park, no, but I'm sure it's awesome.
Yeah, and I like your social media game too in certain regards. Like I saw, like circa, you know, a few years ago, you were saying someday I'll figure out how to boil an egg. Have you figured that out as of yet?
Yeah, it's always like underboiled or overboiled. Like, yeah, man, like, yeah.
Yeah, it can be.
I prefer frying them now.
Oh yeah, that's the move. I think it can definitely be a bit frustrating. Yeah, but I wanted to also talk about the, you know, music in training dynamics, because whenever I have fighters on, I ask if there's like particular like genres they lean to and stuff like that. Some fighters are kind of impartial about picking the tunes, like whoever grabs the aux cord, it's kind of fine there. But it seems like you're into like the De La Soul and like Wu-Tang and stuff like that. So like, is that kind of the stuff you're bumping if you grab the aux cord kind of thing?
Yeah, I got a pretty interesting mix, but Jeff usually takes Jeff, the DJ, because he owns the gym, so who's going to tell him what he wants to listen to? Yeah. But Jeff definitely has an influence on our music taste, I'm sure, and that 90s hip-hop. And my brother's the same thing. My brother, he's influenced my music taste and stuff, and he's always sent me a new playlist or something, and it's the Wu-Tang, De La Soul, Run the Jewels or something, which has kind of got that older flavor.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, anything good.
Yeah, good shout out to Run the Jewels too, though. Like, I mean, we mentioned Cody Cron a touch earlier, and like I've talked to him about Run the Jewels a few times. He came out to them for one of his fights I got to see and stuff like that. So yeah, sounds like you got a good mix there.
Yeah. Like I said, Jeff's got the 90s playlist, and so that's usually what's playing, 90s hip hop or whatever he wants to listen to. So I don't pick anything.
Yeah, man, can't go wrong with that though. And just, you know, in the interest of being mindful of your time, though, I imagine you're pretty busy heading into a big fight like this here. So, you know, to that point, is there anything you maybe want to add as a parting thought as we're kind of wrapping things up here, Graham?
No, I'm just excited to get back in the cage after this long layoff. Like, I've had some, time has not been my friend in my MMA career. I've had to take big, long layoffs at times, and this is another one that I just felt was a really inconvenient time for this to all happen. I had big plans for 2020 to get fights in and try and move up to the next level kind of thing, and that got all put on the back burner with the pandemic. So I'm excited again. The fire's still there to get back in the cage and put on another big performance and see what happens after that. And just want to thank all my teammates at Shave Bears and Flex Chiropractic, Jordan and Jesse over there for helping keeping me moving. All those aches and pains, just keeping at bay. And I hope to see everyone that can make it out to Unified 40 August 14th. And that's it.
Yeah, going to be a killer card, and Unified always puts on a raucous live event, so definitely one to check out if you're in the surrounding area. But if you can't, UFC Fight Pass, put that on, check it out. Going to be a barn burner with Neil Barry and Graham Park getting out there. And yeah, just to reiterate, Graham, thanks for coming on the show. Hopefully it's the first of many appearances there. You enjoy the rest of your day, man.
You too. Thank you, Dylan.